So anyway, the topic this the next couple days, maybe the whole weekend, depending on how far we get here. Uh, the topic is about facial recognition in stages. Today, I'm going to talk about. Tonight, I'm going to talk about how facial recognition works, and perhaps how to evade it. So if you know how it works, you can probably trick it. So we'll talk about that because there are different kinds of facial recognition. Okay. Then tomorrow we will study the effects of this. What is the effect of facial recognition on society, on us individuals, how it relates to our rights, and tomorrow will be like a drought kind of day where I mean drought, kelp. Sorry, not drought, kelp. A kelp kind of day when he can tell us that facial recognition is excellent, excellent for catching terrorists. That's all the drought can say. Oh, it doesn't matter if you don't have any rights. It doesn't matter if we take away all of your rights. It doesn't matter if you go to jail as long as we catch the terrorists. Sounds like an exciting weekend. So I was playing just small talk first, guys. I was like playing music all fucking day. So my hands are tired. I had a gig all day, so I finished the gig at 4, and then I have to do it again tomorrow. So 2 gigs in a row where I have to play music for hours on the piano, uh, outdoors, and tomorrow I'm recording it, so hopefully I'll put it on. I'll post it somewhere. But anyway, that's what I was doing today. So you need more drink to drink than that bottle of water. So I didn't even drink that bottle of water. So anyway, I back to my YouTube journey. I already obviously have over 1,000 followers on YouTube, subscribers, but I was trying to reach 4,000 hours, and I started in January, and now here we are in April, and I'm a few days away. A few days away. Could be 3 4 days away from reaching 4K. If you guys help me, I have serious problems. Serious problem. You got serious problems in life. Well, I got serious problems that I'm going to tell you about here that you should learn about. In any case, uh, so it's my journey is to reach that 4K, and hopefully, when I get that 4K, then Google will treat me a little bit differently. I thought they would treat me differently when you get to 1K viewers, I mean subscribers, and nothing actually changed. So, so not sure it really helps. So let me switch to YouTube. Yes, so I appreciate it if you do, and I appreciate it if you subscribe to my YouTube account, Rob Braxman Tech. If you do so, I that would be so appreciated. So if you can watch on YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube account to help the cause here, that would be so appreciated. And I'm going to give you a lot of information. If you watched the broadcast yesterday, I told you about something. I can summarize yesterday's broadcast in a very very quick paragraph. I told you how you can do two-factor authentication without using your phone, and explain how you're going to do it using Google Voice. That was from last night's broadcast. You should all watch that. You can pretty much get the instructions in the first half an hour of that broadcast, and if you listen to that, you will be able to correct what many of you are having problems with, which is that every zucking social media out there is trying to get your zucking phone number, and you want to fight back and say, Zuck you, mother Zuckers, because Zuck got your phone number on Zuckbook, and what did he do with it? He started to sell it. So how do you trust this a-hole? Okay, he says, well, you got to do, it's really important that you do 2FA, two-factor authentication. We're gonna, make it so that we forced you. We're gonna close your account down if you don't do two-factor authentication, which they did to mine. And good thing it's not it's just a test account. And so Zuck closed my account because I didn't do two-factor authentication, and for those of you who were tricked into giving your phone number, well, you've been zucked. You have been zucked. So, terrible, terrible thing when they start selling the phone numbers that you were supposed to entrust to them for two-factor authentication. That phone number has been sold with your name, and that now there's now a database, another database among many other databases of your name and phone number circulating out there like a directory. Okay? They think that Zuck is doing good from the book Zucked. Oh gosh, the book Zucked, Zucking copying me, right? Book Zucked. Well, late to the game, but they have money, so they can go write a book and be famous. And yet, I've been the one talking about this. Anyway, watch that video. You can, like I said, first 30 minutes, 30 some minutes of it, you will get the instructions for Google Voice and how you can get two-factor authentication without worrying about giving out your phone number. So that's going to help you, and that's very important. A lot of people didn't realize how important that video is, and it's really simple. So if you watch that and put that on your list to watch, it would be very, very beneficial to all. So we give less information to Zuck and others by not giving them our phone number. Okay? Anyway, our main topic tonight is about how facial recognition works. Now, to give you a little bit of a background here, facial recognition is so pervasive now. Hello, Kimberly. Facial recognition is so pervasive now. As you know, in the UK, they do facial recognition when you go into stadiums. They do facial recognition on street corners in London, and I believe also in Manchester. Where there's so many cameras, and all monitored centrally. And in China, they also believe that facial recognition is a big part of their culture. Now, some of you will say, "Oh, how do they do facial recognition in China? They all look alike." Zuck, you racists. The racists are going to say, "You all look alike." So, anyway, hello, Kimberly. Hello, good music forever. So anyway, so China, they're doing facial recognition. As you know, China is using your social media activity and your real life activity to give you a social media score. And if they don't, and they publish the score, and if they recognize who you are, they deny you certain things. They will deny you jobs and opportunities and even entertainment. This is something that's being used in China, kind of like the movie the TV show Black Mirror. Hello, Matt D. So that's happening in China. So anyway, they did facial recognition. I remember Ron Waxman and Beck Boop watch a soccer game. And I remember this clearly. 3.5 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever. And they went to the soccer stadium, and it was announced on the, not that Waxman cares, he doesn't care, but it was announced that they were doing facial recognition of anyone entering the stadium. So the question was, did it actually work? So here we are, a couple of years later, and someone actually analyzed that and said that it was quite inaccurate. Actually, it was very inaccurate. They actually, they had very, very low identification from the soccer stadium. So I don't know if they would have caught any terrorists or anything. Very, very low identification success doing facial recognition at the soccer stadium. Maybe they'll have better luck in China because they all look alike, right? So maybe China is a little bit better because hey, they look alike. So maybe they found a way to have that trick the system. I don't know. So anyway, uh, there was a app. It's called Find Face. I think is the name of the app. This was in Russia. So the Find Face app, the way it worked was you point the camera at anyone on the street. And did they think Waxman was George Clooney? Maybe they did, Kimberly. Yes. So they matched his face to his dick pics. They said, "Oh, this is the guy. This is the guy, and these are the dick pics." The watching. I shouldn't say that. That would probably get me banned on YouTube. So, your junk pics. Sorry, junk pics. I gotta be careful. We don't care on YouTube. We don't care in Periscope, but on YouTube they care. So we got to be careful. Anyway, they on in Russia, in Russia, yeah. Inquiring minds want to know, Lavendi. Inquiring minds want to know. Uh, so they were using this Find Face, and what it did was find somebody's face in the collection of faces on VK. VK is an app. VK is the Russian version of Facebook. So they were able to find a match, and Find Face had a success rate of 70%. Okay, and they actually used it to harass porn stars because they had, the people would point the camera and then find the porn stars on the street and match them by face. So they were particularly targeted, apparently. So, but anyone can be targeted. It's kind of like a stalking app. So you go out to a bar and you say, I want to know who that is. Point the Zucking camera. There's their VK account, and you say, oh, now I know your Zucking name. Oh, okay. So that's the kind of stuff that is going on with facial recognition. A bunch of students in Pittsburgh at the what's the name of that school in Pittsburgh? Not University of Pittsburgh. The kind of a fancy school. Just escaping my brain right now. But anyway, fancy school in Pittsburgh. Carnegie Mellon. Yes, there you go. Okay, Carnegie Mellon. Yes, Jay Colby. Carnegie Mellon. Yes. So at Carnegie Mellon, they started a bunch of kids started programming, put all the students in a database, and then started to do facial recognition based on their school photos, and they were able to get 90% identification. Okay, now Facebook, hello Rex, buddy. So Facebook has been doing facial recognition as well. Not as well as they're very big on facial recognition, and Facebook is doing a little bit differently. Facebook has a success rate of 97%. All the TV crime shows make it seem normal to expect facial recognition while being in public, trying to tell the public into thinking that this is normal. Actually, it's really bad when you do that because you make it seem like this is expected. Maybe they should watch more Jason Bourne movies. Jason Bourne movies would be more appropriate for normal consumption. So we actually are aware of how it can be used by the bad guys. So anyway, Facebook has a program, and the program from Facebook is called Deep Face, and Deep Face is the name of the facial recognition program from Facebook, which is able to tag you and so on, and analyze your photos, and that has a 97% success rate, making Facebook one of the highest success rates of facial recognition ever. and I need to explain to you why that is. Why is Facebook's facial recognition more successful than, let's say, the one that you use at airports or at soccer stadiums? I assume banks use facial recons and ATM. I don't know if they do recons as much as they record the video for crime purposes. So yes, they record the video. I don't know if they actually do face identification. So, but it's a good point. I actually haven't been to the ATM in a long time, so I haven't used an ATM. Three-letter locations. So, ATM. Yes, three-letter locations. Uh, anyway, uh, what? And then, of course, there. One of the latest developments, of course, is the iPhone 10. This is an iPhone 10, right? So this iPhone 10, which is over a year old now. So a lot of you maybe have the new one of this. So this is the original iPhone 10, which is only a year and something old, year and 4 months old. Uh, this has facial recognition, and I'm actually going to tell you how this one works as well. So this one's called Face ID. I will now talk to you about how all of these work, how some of them work, why some of them are successful, why some are not. I had to kind of dig in and think with my programming mind. I don't have all the facts about how they do this because I don't know what the actual algorithms are. But as a programmer, I'm able to sense how this operates. I also tested the Find My Phone here, and to see when I can get it to be tricked and not, because they're advising only upgrade to a 5G. Um, I don't know what that means in this context. So anyway, uh, there are there's a difference between what we perceive as standard uh, facial recognition and the techniques used by Facebook, techniques used by Apple. They're completely different, actually. Let me tell you another story. That's something, again, to repeat the story. Family member was driving my car, actually, my car, and said person made a turn on the street without stopping on a light, and lo and behold, we got a ticket. The ticket was not to me. They have the license plate of the car. The car was in my name. The ticket was directly addressed to the person driving the car, and which was pretty amazing. And not only did they say, "Yep, we facially recognize you as being the driver," they actually had the photo of the person driving the car, and it looked like a mugshot. It was a direct frontal shot. And so if you're trying to like say, well, that's not me, then they have the frontal shot there to prove it's you. So this is one of the scariest things here in LA, because LA is now putting cameras everywhere, in street corners, traffic lights, intersections. There are so many fucking cameras in LA. LA is actually using this information for pre-crime. They call it laser. They have a special name for it. They're working with Palantir Technologies, and they're working with an AI company, a data mining AI company, and they're actually actively spotting movements of people in the city that they have classified as being in the laser program, meaning if they say that we want to track you because you're a potential criminal, they put you on a pre-crime list and they start tracking your movements all around the city. Okay, so this is the reality here in LA. It's really bad. Every freeway, they have something called. We have something called. We have a special paid lane now. It used to be a carpool lane. It's no longer a carpool lane now; it's a paid lane. So you go in there, and the cameras spot your every vehicle that goes by there is spotted, and if you are not supposed to be there because or you don't pay the bill, then they send you a bill. And if you go to the Bay Area and go through the Golden Gate Bridge, they don't accept money anymore at the Golden Gate Bridge. You go through the Golden Gate Bridge and you say, "Well, where the zuck do I pay?" And you come home and suddenly you get a zucking bill from from the city of San Francisco, billing you for crossing the Golden Gate Bridge however many times, and that's the way it is now. So it's being used in tickets directly. And here's the part that is really sad about this. That data is accessible to other companies. Apparently, they're making it available to Palantir and other companies that they hire, meaning contractors have access to the data. Okay, New York City obviously is going to have the same thing. So, this is something that's near and dear to me because obviously, we all drive in cars in here. In New York, you can go take the subway, and then they'd have to use subway cameras. But as far as cars go, this is tracking all the movements. Now, how did the facial recognition differ between these different solutions? What is the facial recognition being used in the LA traffic light case versus Facebook versus VK versus phone use? And this is why it's not the same. And if you understand the difference, then maybe you'll understand how to trick it. I was actually playing with tricking it, and I have some theories on how to trick it. Okay, these are theories. I can't guarantee you can test it yourself. These are theories of mine, and this could be useful for us if we happen to not have a hat. I better use this hat for tonight. Okay, so if you happen not to have a hat and sunglasses, and by the way, if you think this will work, it may not work. But if you happen to have if you don't happen to have a hat, how could you trick the system into not recognizing you? I found out you can actually do it. You can do it, but there's some rules. So Facebook, way Facebook, what do you say, Starlight? If your friend didn't pay the ticket, would you be responsible to pay as it was your car? Yes, Starlight. I'm sure that would be the case. Yes. You can dispute it, but they'll still zuck you up. It's like getting a ticket. Ticket was in your car. Somebody borrowed your car. They'll apply the ticket to your car if they can't find the driver. Yes, they will do that. Yes. So Facebook is a little bit different than other facial recognition programs because Facebook actually does the facial recognition program Facebook does it by AI. So here's the difference between Facebook and the one that the city uses. The one the city uses is based on your driver's license photo. So they take your straight frontal shot. This is how you do a driver's license, right? You go to the DMV and it's a straight frontal shot picture. And that's exactly how you look when you're driving. It's straight frontal shot. So the straight frontal shot can easily be compared to a driver's license because you're directly facing the camera. Okay? So they pointed the camera at these intersections so that it actually sees your face, and it's lower than the visor. It's lower than the visor. So they even with the visor down, they can see your face. So with a straight frontal shot, they have more success with that because it's a very limited kind of facial recognition. It's not like random ones. As a comparison, if you're doing facial recognition of a crowd going through a stadium with thousands and thousands and thousands of people crossing and going and looking in different directions, it's not going to be that effective. I think that in order for facial recognition to be effective in those environments, is you have to do it in single line, and then force the people to maybe put some walls on the side. I don't know how you can do this, but single line, so you're forced to face forward. So if you're forced to face forward, maybe they trick you. Maybe they put you in a hallway and they're like symbols and the thing, and to trick your eyes into looking a certain way, and then they can get you into a frontal shot. They will have more success. Okay. Now Facebook is a little bit different than that. So Facebook can actually find variations and be able to find you even if you're not looking directly at the camera. And the reason for that is AI. They actually trained it to recognize a face just like a human being would recognize the face. The way that we traditionally think of software doing facial recognition is by measuring landmarks on the face. So where's the nose? Where's the eyes? The distance, the proportion, where's the mouth? Where's the ears? And then use a distance proportion of that to help. Okay? That's going into stadium, you go to security, could do it there. Yeah, but you have to get a frontal shot. So I'm trying to think about how you would force somebody to do that and how you could evade it. So I guess you could just put a police guy that says, look over there. If you don't look over there, then we don't let you in. Maybe that's the easy way. Okay. So Facebook has a little bit more of a human way of determining facial recognition, and it's accurate because you keep feeding it so many photos of yourself. How many photos does it think it has of each one of you? For some of you, it has thousands and thousands of photos. Bill Cosby Bill Cosby is having an amazing experience in jail. That's correct, Bill. That's correct, Donnie. It's good to see a familiar face. Hey, Chief Brennan, how are you doing, my friend? How are you doing? So, thank you, Chief Brennan. Thank you for being here. Did you follow my YouTube account already, Chief Brennan? So the way that Facebook works is by training the AI. So the more pictures you give it, you're actually training the AI, the artificial intelligence. So you're training the artificial intelligence to think more like a human. The initial programming for Facebook Deepface was fed 4 million photos that you guys submitted to Facebook. And now they have probably billions of photos, and they can now have the AI learn from billions of photos. That's why the accuracy just keeps increasing, because it's learning how to identify a face like a human does, not by measuring alignment and all that. That's not the way it does it on Facebook. It does it by training. So in this case, the Facebook formula is a bit unique, and they probably aren't going to share it. So the Facebook one is extremely accurate for a different reason. It's for AI. Now, the commercial ones for facial recognition, I'll give you an example. Amazon. So the Amazon facial recognition program, which you can rent, anyone can rent their software and you can use it for any purpose. That's why people are protesting that, because anyone can attach facial recognition to any program, and you don't need to develop it. It's already been developed by Amazon, and I believe it's both AI based and also landmark based. Because I don't think I think there's AI in there too, but I think it's also based on landmarks. Okay, so now, what about the ones at airports? So they're doing that kind of facial recognition. I believe they force you. Now, I don't know. I haven't actually been to the airport. I'm actually afraid to fly out internationally because somebody might stop me and say, "We know you. You're Rob Braxman, and you need to be stopped at the border." So I'm a little bit. I read 8 to 28. I read 8 to 10 months. If that is true, it's scary. So you wear a mask at the airport. So hello, Deanna. Anyway, so what I'm guessing is that the one at the airport is just based on a database using. They probably use FBI photos, DMV photos, and all that, kind of the same way that everything is done, and use the alignment method. Okay, use the alignment of landmark method on your face. Now, let me tell you the capability of the landmark method. The landmark method, which is looking at your eyes, nose, and mouth, and the alignment and proportions of that, uh, that works even if you squint, even if you laugh, even if you frown, even if you blink, it still works. They put that into the programming, but I actually tested it, some of it, and there's still a way to beat it. But at least I figured out what they're looking for. Okay, so 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 yes, those are. So they are. If you think that you have a beard now and you didn't have a beard before, that's not going to help because that's not part of the landmark. They don't do the landmarks of a beard. That's not necessary. If you wear a hat, that doesn't affect the landmark. Okay, that does. If you have a patch over one eye, they will tell you to remove the patch. Okay, so that the landmark method can tolerate uh, some variances. But here's the thing about the landmark method that apparently causes it to fail, and it even fails on the iPhone. This is the rule. You have to be facing front within 20 degrees up front. So this would be okay. You can be recognized by this. But if the angle is more like this, then it doesn't work. Profiles don't work. Something to understand. Profiles do not work. So if you saw a camera and you faced your face sideways more than 20 degrees, it actually won't recognize you. Move your eyes to the back of your head. Well, make special lenses that have, the twist to look front while you're looking sideways. Get some special lenses for that. I actually tried this on the iPhone. Try it yourself on your iPhone 10. Try it direct shot and figure out the angle where it starts to lose it. I think I know why it fails. I think it needs to see both eyes. So at a certain angle, the other eye is no longer visible, and then they can't measure. I think that's what the issue is. That's my guess. At a certain angle, the other eye is no longer visible to the camera, and then, or not visible enough to compute, and then it fails. I think that is the reason for that when you're basing it on landmarks. Okay? They have a facial recognition app for Python. You don't need that. You can put, any language can be used. PHP, Python, whatever. You just use the API from Amazon. Just use the Amazon software. And they actually have an AI-trained facial recognition. But that's the problem. So again, straight frontal shot, 20 degrees. You try to measure it. It seems to be accurate. That's what I read, and I actually tested it, and it seems to be right. It has like a 20-degree angle for the Find My Phone for Face ID, and if I exceed 20 degrees, it doesn't know what to do, and I think it's because it has to see the other eye. Okay, so that's rule number one. How you can evade facial recognition is keep your face sideways face. Okay. tip number one, sideways face. If they can only see one of your eyes in a profile, I think this will work. Even with one eye, that will work. Okay? Even if you do this, that will work. 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 Watch this. If you do this, it doesn't work. Okay, what did I do there? What did I do? Okay? What did I do? Why does a certain thing, facial profile work? Why does one not work? As I found out that if one eye is still in a normal position like this, so the one eye is still similar normal position. So if you do this and half the face is still normal, they learn to ignore that. But when you switch your face to with both eyes down, if you do something to your face where you move both eyes down, it loses it. Tested that. It's so easy to test on an iPhone 10. I tried it every way, and I was like, this is funny. So I was doing it at a restaurant, and people were probably saying, why am I making faces? So if I happen to have to face front in a camera, and I don't want to, be identified, like let's say I'm seeing a traffic light, then I just, either hold my face at an angle or, position my eyes so my eyes move and my mouth moves. It changes the alignment. Wow, so it can't get you while you're looking at your feet. Looking at your feet, probably not, because it's beyond 20 degrees. Yeah, you're right, but they may have a camera that's lower, so they can get you. They may have multiple cameras at different heights, some low, some high, and they can get you from different angles. Typically, I would imagine they should put cameras low, so then less chances of that. So isn't that a nice little trick to know? So that's something that I tested, and I'm trying to understand the logic, and I'm trying to see, because if it's based on proportions of eyes, and if you change the proportion, and it's bilateral, meaning the two eyes are not aligned to your nose, it fails. Okay, so if you do something that's a one-eyed squint, one eye is still proportional, you lose the battle. Okay, so this is what I did when I posted my pictures on Twitter. I actually took the photo and spread my eyes further apart. So I went to my photo, and using a photo editor, I spread my eyes further apart. And I think that's gonna screw up the AI. So I stopped doing that because I'm on video constantly, but it just tells me that that's what you have to do if you want to make your profile photo not searchable on the internet and yet be recognizable to your mother. Then because my mother still recognized me even though my eyes were further apart. Remind me of the process of narrowing our likeness in reverse. Yeah, so that's when you base it on the alignment of landmarks. Now, again, as it turns out that they haven't done a profile kind of matching, and they do in jail. If you have a mugshot, the mugshot has a profile shot if you're in prison. But for the rest of us, we probably don't have a mugshot type thing where we're in profile. So they probably can't do profile recognition on a mugshot. So I'm just trying to understand here with Jason Bourne, in the Jason Bourne movies, and how he was like, he would use his hat and he would kind of like bend down and, walk like that. The problem with that is you look suspicious. That's suspicious. But you could probably, scrunch up your face in a way that makes it seem like you're laughing at something. That might work. You act like, oh, that's so funny. And then you happen to just be laughing at the time you're in front of a camera. And that might do the trick. Now, there's another technique that they're planning on using, or maybe using, especially at airports. And this is facial recognition using infrared to get your head shape. Let me repeat that. Get infrared to get your head shape. Okay? Now, this is now combining two pieces of data. Head shape with markers. That may be a little bit more difficult to evade. Apparently, that does improve the recognition when you use two kinds of cameras, an infrared to get head shape, and then the typical markers of your position. And then using that, then they can extrapolate some 3D. So just to make sure we understand this, most facial recognition is not 3D. Not. Okay? That's bad news for pinheads. So most facial recognition is not 3D. So they have not successfully done that. And the reason is, in order to do 3D properly, the way they'd have to do this is every time somebody takes a picture, you need, I believe they said, 3 cameras. At several different angles. So 3 cameras. So at some point, somebody will say, every human being needs to be taken a picture of in 3 cameras, then they will now do 3D. At the moment, that doesn't exist. There's not a 3D database of faces. So because of that, that's changing now with Apple. This is 3D. Somewhat. Casinos use facial recognition, must have face-level cameras at tables. Now, again, that's frontal and the people aren't moving, so yeah, that's much easier for them to gauge that, right? So frontal, no 3D yet. If they use 3D, if somebody says, and this is a big warning flag, if somebody said we need to take your photo in several cameras, that should be a warning flag. That's probably how Facebook is getting that angles because they have so many photos. So there's many photos, many people take pictures like this. It reminds me of my niece. Every time she takes a picture, every picture on Facebook is like this angle. It's always the side of the face. It's like zucked up millennial attitude right there. So I got a haircut that confused the computer at the pawn shop. The what? A haircut at the pawn shop. For my new photo ID, they were very careful to make sure my ears weren't covered. That's in passports. That's normal. Yeah, all passport pictures, the one ear is exposed. Then they can also measure ear position. So that's typical, actually. That's typical. Okay, so you hopefully understand now how the 2D kind of facial recognition works. Now let's talk about the Apple way of doing facial recognition. I want to explain how this works. The technology for doing this is much different. And because of that, it has different limitations and different successes. And I actually tested it extensively today and discovered some little details about it I didn't know before. So the way that the iPhone works is that the front here of the phone, right up here, there's that little bar in there, and it's like, it's ugly. There's like a big area there for something, and you don't know what it is. And what it is an infrared. There's an infrared lighting system right at the front of the phone. Okay, and what it does is directional, and what it does is lights up a pattern of 30,000 dots on your face. Let me repeat that. It lines up 30,000 dots on your face. Okay? And then it looks at since it put the dots up there, it then knows where the dots are in relation to what it expects in straight landscape shot. And as you turn your head, and depending on the angles on your face, some of those dots will appear to be close. This is minuscule. It will be detected by a program, but depth of field. Some places will be closer and faster depending on the profile of your face. Like this is closer, and that's further away, right? So depending on the profile of your face, some points will be closer and further, and that will affect the dot position. Okay, and this is like depth of field in a camera. That's how the camera focuses. They focus on dots. Okay, so they use that same technology, except they're using 30,000 dots. So they layer the 30,000 dots on your face and say, where's the dot positioned? And then remember where the dots are. And then from that, they acquire a sort of 3D pattern of your face. So it actually has a shape, not just frontal shot. The Apple system is actually a contour map. That's why it's actually pretty advanced. So the Face ID here is not based on AI in the sense of the Facebook training AI. It's based on a contour map, and it decides your facial recognition based on the probability that it's you. Okay? No, it's not like a barcode or QR code. It uses some little math to see that some dots, if they go further away, the perspective changes on the dot, and then they will not appear like, if you put the dots on a flat piece of paper, it will be very even cross section. But if there's a contour, the contour map will change and will show a little bit of, hills and valleys. And they record the hills and valleys to say, okay, this is a higher spot, lower spot. And one of the things that the facial ID can do on an iPhone, it can actually detect what real skin is versus artificial skin. Okay, since it must note the skin texture and knows what's real skin and artificial skin. I don't know how it does that but there's 30,000 dots, so maybe they have a way of doing it. I don't really know, but they're able to spot skin structure to make sure it really is skin. Again, without seeing the data, I don't know how that actually works. But skin has a little bit of porosity to it. It's porous. So theoretically, then, if you put some infrared on there, there must be some kind of effect that they can measure that is different for real skin versus, let's say, metal. Zits. So imperfections, maybe? I don't know. Because some people have tried to make like a mask, and that didn't work. So they tried, like, let's say they make a rubber face, and that didn't work either. So I don't know. So that's one of the things that is very interesting to find out is exactly how they do that. Vein map? No, they're not using vein maps here. Okay, although that's somebody did that for the eyes, tracking the veins in the eyes. Veins and arteries in the eye. So your circulation, map of the eye, and they're using that as a biometric. You have to use a real face to trick it. Yes, it has to be real. It's hard to trick it. Something that I'm going to tell you that I discovered. Something that I discovered with the iPhone 10 that is interesting. Often the phone rings in the middle of the night, and I'm lying down sideways like this, okay, And according to the theory of how it should work, even if I'm laying sideways like this, my one eye and mouth, everything will be in alignment for one side of the face, so it should still recognize it. It doesn't. It doesn't recognize it. But yet, I tested it multiple times. Tested it multiple times. And I even covered my mouth and it still allowed me to come in. And then I discovered a pattern. Again, I'm a programmer, so I'd look at patterns. So the pattern I discovered is that they are stricter for the first time you use it, but as you use it more frequently and the more you encounter the Face ID, the probability of the match is lowered so that if even something matches, they accept it. So I covered my mouth and it still accepted it. I covered half my face, it still accepted it. Okay? So I think what it's doing is saying, is there part of the face map that's still correct? Since we already saw your face a moment ago, so we'll be more tolerant of your face, even though we're not seeing the whole thing because we just saw it a moment ago. So we'll do partial acceptance. We'll accept it even though it's partial data. That's very, very interesting. It's actually improves. That's why I was actually surprised how well Face ID works, even in situations where it's not seeing my whole face. Could there just be more training data the more you use it? No. I'm talking about, this is the experiment that I'm talking about. If you don't touch your phone for hours, and then like you wake up in the middle of the night, it wants a full face recognition the first time you use it. Full face, with attention, eyes looking at it. Okay? I noticed that if I just swipe it down and turn it off and turn it back on, that secondary operations within seconds of whatever I'm doing on the phone, they accept my face. Sorry. They accept my face even though it's partial. So it's like learning by saying, we know that it's still you, but we just want to verify that it's some parts of your face. So if they match a little bit of your face within a few seconds or a minute of matching it with everything else, that the full match earlier on, it seems to work. So again, it's more tolerant after the first full scan of your face. That's what I noticed. Don't know if you can duplicate that, but that's what I've experienced. I may need to test it some more, but that's what I discovered, which is actually pretty cool because then, because it basically gets less strict as you actively, you're a typical millennial. You're doing this, and then you shut it down, so you turn it off, and then you turn it on again, and then it doesn't spend too much time doing Face ID because it says, oh, it's roughly the same person. I think that's what the logic is. So there's some like increasing level of or decreasing level of requirements as you are actively using it. And then when you withdraw from the device for some long period of time, then it requires a full face, which is pretty smart because it's actually it's like a scaled reaction. It's good programming there. It's good programming. So I'm impressed. But I told you that you can trick it still. Okay. Hello, shoveling. How you doing, man? So you can still trick it. I told you that this is the trick I use on the iPhone 10. As long as it can find a match with half your face. If you do, motions like, that still works. Because half your face is still okay. Yeah, that still works. But it can't deal with this. Like, can't deal with that. When the whole face proportionally, when one eye is out of position, both eyes are out of position, like that. Can't do it. Okay, so that tells you what it's looking for proportions, and it's finding some part of your face that still looks like you, and then based on that, then it says, okay, it's still you. Okay, so again, so how do you apply this in real life? How do you apply this in real life? We already know this. If you, assuming no 3D here, at the moment they don't have 3D databases of us. If somebody starts collecting 3D databases or infrared face structures, or by what I mean by 3D database is if a picture of you taken for facial recognition purposes is taken with multiple cameras. So if that ever happens, so somebody says, well, I'm going to take a picture of you with multiple cameras, that's a problem. That will subject you to a different kind of recognition, which you may not be able to evade the normal way. So let's just say at the moment that's not yet the case. Okay? I personally have not been asked to put my face in different cameras, even for passports. So that is not the case at the moment. Will the government require it and require it for DMV? You never know. It could happen. So at the moment, they're not doing that. They're tricking you in some other ways, like putting RFID on your phone. Don't forget to grant me console access to your AWS AC2 instances. Does it have to be console, Levendi? Admin access is not good enough for you? Admin access is not good enough? It's got to be console access? What does it have to be console? I don't even I don't use the console. I'm too lazy to put command line console stuff. I don't do that. I use menus. Can't remember it all. So anyway, let's start with admin. Okay, so little tricks here so that you understand. This does in fact work. Looking down for several reasons. One is if it can't see your eyes like this, you can't see my eyes right there, then it can't do the matching of landmarks. Can't do landmark matching. So Jason Bourne was doing this. Now you look pretty suspicious doing this, but that's the truth. Now I can tell you that the burglars and thieves here in my part of town know that. That's why they always wear a hat. All these guys, I have them on camera. They're like burglarizing my neighbor's house. And I have them on camera. And they're wearing a hat. They're looking down. They're walking down the street like with their head down. Wearing a big sombrero. Okay? So this is my deal now. If I go along a street and see somebody wearing a big sombrero looking down, I know that guy is a burglar. Okay? So you can use this for your own benefit as well. When you start seeing people acting suspicious by doing this, they're hiding something. Right. And these, and by the way, these burglars that I have on my camera, they're white. They're white. And they're wearing a sombrero because they want to look like Mexican gardeners. Because there's a lot of Mexican gardeners in the area. And they want to look like a Mexican gardener, so they're so they wear the sombrero like they work there. They're gonna do your lawn. So they look innocent because they're walking around, intending to do your lawn because they're wearing a sombrero. But I've just since discovered that in my camera that they're all looking down like that. So as just a mark of suspicion. So if you're going to do it, realize that it's suspicious. Okay? So second thing is angle of face. So they know there are cameras everywhere in the neighborhood. And so they always keep their angle in a profile side view. They cannot be profiled. It has to be a frontal shot. You see the difficulty here? You can't do facial recognition on them sideways. Is that the folding one, Doug? What does that have to do with my broadcast right now? Does that have a Face ID? Can't profile the profile. What is the point of the question, Doug? Does it have Face ID on it? As you know, is it connected to the topic? Anyway, uh, it does have Face ID. So we need to. Of course, I don't have that phone, so I don't actually know how that works since I don't have a phone. But if this one is easily tested because I have it. Very, very sophisticated way of doing it. Now, let me just tell you something, so you're a little bit educated about this. Okay. I don't. By the way, I'm going to tell you a fact thing. Okay. I don't know why Face ID is important for me on an iPhone. As far as I'm concerned, the touch was just fine. I don't know why my life has to be complicated with pointing this at my face when when I can do touch. I don't know why that's supposed to be beneficial. In theory, the benefit of a of no touch ID, the benefit is that they can have a clean glass, and there's nothing to obstruct. But on a Android, on Android, you just touch in the back, so the front's still pretty clear, and then you touch in the back. It's pretty handy. I don't understand why I need to go to some complex solution with Face ID. So to me, Face ID is a gimmick because it requires a more powerful phone. I don't know why it needs to have it. So here we go, comparing the technology and why this is a different risk factor to have a Face ID on an iPhone versus facial recognition on Facebook. I want you to understand the difference between the two because it's really, really different. Okay? Face ID on a phone, in theory, and this is the theory, and I'll break the theory in a moment, but the main theory is that the Face ID profile, meaning the structure of your face, the depth, the 30,000 dots on your face and how that's analyzed, is kept on the phone only. So it's used to, just like Touch ID, the information is kept only on the phone. So it doesn't actually send the data to Apple. However, let me break the theory a little bit here. Apparently, they do send some structure of your face. They claim it's not enough to do Face ID, but they send structure of your face to apps like Snapchat for those ducking filters. So they have a sense of what your face looks like, and they send it to Snapchat for the filters. So now there's the question. How much of the points in your face is there to construct a mask of your face? How many points is there in there? They're saying not enough. Not enough for Face ID or not enough for us to recognize it? That is the question. I don't know. It really bothers me that we don't know the details of this. Maybe I have to write a program to see exactly what Snapchat gets. And then, then I can research and say, oh yeah, I've seen it and it doesn't have that many points. But I am curious because they give you a 3D model. That is actually what is sent to Snapchat, a 3D model of your zucking face. So Doug says, this is cool. Doug says, I don't need a VPN. We need to worry about snap filters. I don't need to worry about facial recognition. These are things I don't need to worry about. It's cool. So I worry about it because anytime can somebody substitute a face based on a 3D model? That 3D modeling of a face obviously is bad because the 3D models could be used by external parties to do the 3D kind of facial ID that I'm saying that we don't want. We don't want face ID in 3D. because then you can't even evade it. I'm telling you how you can evade it with just looking 20 degrees, 25 degrees away, because they seem to have a limit of 20 degrees. So on Face ID, if I twist, even if I'm looking at it like this angle, it doesn't like it. It has to be, this is about the max that I found that it will work on a iPhone. This angle doesn't work anymore. Okay, I found this is about the maximum. I use my fingerprint to open phone. So yeah, fingerprint is great. I don't know what's wrong with fingerprint. Nothing. I bet Face ID is to help 3-letter agencies. Well, the logic is that Face ID is not sent to the Apple headquarters, and someone can query some part of your depth profile on Face ID, but according to Apple, it's limited. Now, exactly how limited is the question we don't know the answer to. So we'll take them at their word right now that it's only enough to create a Snapchat filter, and that's it. And we'll take their word for it that the data is actually kept on a phone, just like Touch ID. Okay, so if the data is kept here, that's safe. Okay, now, yeah, Bitmoji is using Face ID, the same logic. That's how it gets the your facial movements. Okay, it maps out your face. Okay, so how does this different from Facebook? And this is really what is something that you really need to understand. There's a lawsuit in Illinois against Facebook for using facial recognition. Hey, Maggie, there's a lawsuit in Illinois about Facebook using Face ID, and they're being stopped facial recognition, and they are being Doug. It's not that it's a caricature is what you get. I'm saying, what is the input data? That you don't know, Doug. What is the input data to the caricature? How did it get to that? If you don't know what the input data is, then you don't really know for sure how much data points there are. Okay? You don't know for sure. So that's something to wonder about. Does facial recognition? No, it does not. It does not, Maggie. Neither does. So I'm sure. Like Waxman is asking, is there like a database of junk pics? Is there a database of junk pics? And my gut feel is no. You have to match it to your face. But they do have a tattoo database at Facebook. They do have a tattoo database at Facebook. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. So Facebook is a little bit different. Okay. Yeah, well, I'm on YouTube now, Maggie. I can't, I found out that if you say, something pics, that they could, demonetize you on YouTube. So I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, and I'm going to repeat it again. So it'll be junk pics. We refer to it as junk pics. So the difference between the Facebook way and the way it is on Hi Piano Man. Hey, hello Dorktronics. The difference between the Facebook way and the iPhone way, Apple way, is that the data is not stored on here. On Facebook, the data is based on AI on existing photos, thousands of them. Thousands of your photos have been recognized, and they now have a system that can recognize the face just like a human. Would it register if I sign up with facial rec by showing up my dog's face? What if you don't have your dog next to you? Can I monetize my junk pics? I need to look into that. No that's exactly what they do. They demonetize your junk pics. They demonetize. Anyway, So the difference with the Facebook way is Facebook keeps the logic for facial recognition in a central repository, in a central database, which means at any moment it can equip any device to do facial recognition of anyone in the Zucking world that's on Facebook. So they can do what VK has done. What is it? Find My Face, Russian app. They can do that. The Russian app Find Face was only 70% successful in finding a face in VK. The Facebook one would be 97% accurate. Can you imagine the danger of that if they said, we'll allow you to log in. Yes, I say zucking this, Mother Zuckers, and so on. Yes. Zucking world. Yes. Zuck. Yes. Dorktronics, welcome to my scope. If you don't know me, then, everyone on Periscope says Zuck because of me. Okay? Zucking too. You can go to Urban Dictionary, Dorktronics, and look at the definition of what the Zuck, and you'll find my definition on there. So it's a famous definition. What the Zuck. Go check it out. Urban Dictionary. It's on the top. So took years to get it there. Years. Hotel California style social media. You can sign up and never leave. I've never done Facebook, but I will look into my junk for money. So anyway, just going back to what I'm saying about Facebook. Here's the danger. Facebook possesses the technology to say we can find anyone. Because it's in the database. So in theory, if they don't give you an app to find anyone, just like this Find Face Russian app. So if you see Maggie on the street and say, let me find out who that is. You point the camera at Maggie and say, full name, and demographics that you can then dox and find to match to your real identity. In other words, instant doxing. That is what is going to happen. Not your junk, Maggie, your face. So if you see your face, okay, instant doxing. Instant doxing. That's what this Facebook way is going to do. So Facebook wants to do things like this. Just example, and good thing they haven't done it, but they were planning on doing it. Good thing they're rethinking some of this. But one of the things they were thinking about is to log you in directly to Facebook just from looking at your Facebook app. Can you imagine how dangerous that is? Because that means if I want to know who somebody is, I just load Facebook on my device and I point it at you. And I say, I want to know who you are. So you're at a bar and this woman's next to you. Say, I want to know who you are. And you just point the camera and it says, there's your Facebook account. Nobody is interested. So you see, you just point the camera and you identify somebody. I mean, Zuck is a very zucked up person. Okay, he's really zucked up. He's like he has no conception about things like stalking and doxing. My phone has setting to put phone to sleep if I'm not looking at it. My phone has a setting to put phone to sleep if I'm not looking at it. I'm sure it won't be that easy. Of course it can be that easy, Doug. They already have the information. What the heck are you talking about, Doug? So Facebook is not doing it because there's so much pushback from the rest of us. The more we push back, the more this doesn't happen. But if we let Zuck do it, he's going to get into lawsuits. He's going to force himself. Zuck was told that there's a lawsuit. This was done in the Congress hearing when he was being, when he's being interviewed by Congress. They asked him, what about this facial recognition lawsuit in Illinois? And he said, we are continuing regardless of that lawsuit. We are continuing based on that lawsuit. That's not the case, Doug. That's what they're trying to do is say you approach your computer and it can react to whatever member of the family you're in and so on. This is the kind of stuff that they're able to do. What they want to do basically is this. They want Facebook app to be alive, and they had this program. They call it Constant Connect, and you wonder to yourself, why do they call something Constant Connect? And of course, it means they want a Siri-like interface where it's always listening, it's always looking, it's always seeing who's on the device. They're always doing facial recognition, always doing everything to find out your surroundings. That's what they were originally planning. I hope. Okay, Hoodoo. I hope they're. It doesn't have to be the back. Doug, do you know exactly what they're doing? You're like theorizing here on something that you don't even know. This is what I've heard as their intent. Now it looks like they're pulling back on this, which is good. Okay, it looks like they're pulling back on it. You cover your cameras. How do I cover my camera when I live stream? Don't forget to like the broadcast. Yes, don't forget to like the broadcast. Zunk wants to be above the law and beyond creepy. So anyway, I'm saying that based on what the original plans were. Yeah, you do. I live stream, so I'm zucked. Based on what the original plans are, that's how they wanted to go deep with using. They wanted to use the information they already had for facial recognition in any way they can. Right now, it's really pretty creepy the way they do tagging. So the way they do tagging is any photo of you can be found. I'm sure Zuck isn't waiting for permission to perfect facial recognition. Well, they're 97%, pretty close to perfect, since most of the population is on Facebook. In many countries. And so who is here that isn't on YouTube? Just curious. It will help Rob. I'm watching on YouTube. Thank you. So yes, and make sure you subscribe to my YouTube account. If you aren't subscribed to my YouTube account, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to my YouTube account. Yes, the whole internet is out of control. Yes, no more hate. And glad to see you again, no more hate. Glad to see you come back twice this year. And people thought auto tagging was going to be great. I did not, Doug. When I saw auto tagging, I said, "What the zuck?" That was my first reaction to auto tagging. What the zuck? And then just got worse and worse. So from my point of view, I have been watching on ZooTube. Thank you, no more hate. So anyway, that's why I removed all pictures. Can I troll freely on YouTube? I'll take a look. I don't know how to. You can be blocked on YouTube. Trolling is not. There's not a lot of trolling going on. Are you looking for troll targets on YouTube? Maggie likes to troll people on the right. She's a leftist troll. Maggie is a leftist troll. Zuck only waiting to go ahead from government to use facial recognition for instant doxing. Instant doxing. This is really what we're talking about here. Instant doxing. And this is some of the dangers that I will introduce to you tomorrow. I wonder if some of this can be fought against by joining that religion that believes cameras steal your soul. Mad Cow, interesting. And then you fight as a minority group, right? Come up with a new religion. The anti-Zuck religion. Tomorrow, just so that you can see the structure of what I'm talking about here. By the way, sunglasses can evade a frontal facial recognition that is based on finding symmetry, distances and proportions of the face. However, it doesn't work with infrared. So if the facial recognition is trying to do it with infrared, then that will fail. It can even go through a hat. So this is not going to work if they do infrared tracking of facial recognition. Okay? Now, from what I know, infrared is pretty short distance. So I don't think you'll have to be very close to the camera for that to work. So I don't think infrared is like high resolution, at a distance. So that's kind of the limitation of it. You have to be close. So I don't know what the new technology is they're coming up with. They're combining infrared and then visible spectrum and then matching the two up to get head shape and all that, even while wearing scarves and beards and whatever. So they're trying to get that kind of thing going. And if that happens, then they may change the success rate of commercial facial recognition to be a little bit higher. But just so you know, they actually did, using the Amazon AI for facial recognition, they ran the members of the Black Caucus. They ran it through the database of Amazon, and they thought that some of those congressmen were criminals. So they actually had a big failure rate, and then found out that those congressmen were criminals. Periscope is always lucky me. Starlight, if I don't do talk call-ins, I'm zucked anyway. So okay, so it was very funny because they were trying to show that if you have dark skin, then the matching fails because it's looking for distances between objects, like your features of your face, and if the skin is too dark, then it may not get the proper measurements. Okay, so that's I can imagine why that would fail, because if the lighting isn't good, they don't get the proportion using that system. Whereas Face ID doesn't use that. Face ID uses infrared, so it doesn't check for your skin color. Now, there's something else that they're doing. This will add to the recognition. Just lobbyists. There's another thing that they're going to check for now as part of facial recognition, and this requires a more close-up view, and it's there to find your pimples. They basically are looking for skin texture. Skin texture. That is the new thing they're adding to facial recognition. If they don't have the same technique that Facebook does. Facebook doesn't need skin texture. They've already trained the Zucking AI to recognize face like a human being. That's why Facebook is so sharp at doing facial recognition. Okay? It's training. AI training. The rest of the industry only has a photo or two of you. They don't have the capability that Facebook has to amass information from thousands of photos for each individual. So any of you on Zucking Zuckbook uploading thousands of photos on Zuckbook, you are so zucked, I don't know what to tell you. Skin, yes. Are you sure, Maggie? Prove it. Prove it. So that skin texture is a way now to see if that's really you, because they're going to say, well, let's compare Doug's skin texture to Maggie's skin texture, and then we'll see who's who. So without looking at your face. So just an FYI, they're going to use that as in combination, which will increase the accuracy of it. Plus the 3D, plus infrared. So at some point, all they need is to make a database of that. And one of the things that scare me is this. The government says, we will now require that you get a driver's license with a 3D photograph, multiple cameras, with infrared in there, and close enough to see skin texture, and store that in your DMV driver's license photo. Whoa. Hasn't happened yet. So you better like fight back if that happens. You better fight back to make sure that doesn't happen, because that will really, really zuck us up big time. People, if you're not following me on YouTube, please do so. Please make sure you follow me on YouTube. I know I don't really get a lot of viewers on Periscope anymore. You need to explore fillers and Botox. So I know a lot of you. I don't get a lot of followers on Periscope, and it's not that it matters. It really doesn't. That is when I would buy a new bike. So I'm often I don't even get that many new people coming in from Periscope. But if you're already on YouTube, for example, and you haven't subscribed to my account, please subscribe to my account, and so that you see all the other content I have in here. And last night I talked about how you can use an alternate solution for two-factor authentication without giving your Zucking phone number to Zuck. Is that why there's a lag? Lag where? Where's the lag? Is there a lag? I don't know if there's a lag because I'm not listening to the broadcast. Where? Is there a lag on YouTube? I use a different computer now. There was a lag. Yeah, so yeah, watch my video last night and I show you how Google Voice works. YubiKey, not just YubiKey, but the Google Voice instructions on how to use Google Voice. Video lag on Periscope. Is there a video lag on YouTube? Okay, no lag on YouTube. Okay. Could we just? Is there anybody else with a lag on Periscope? I determined that the lag was before. That the lag was because my computer couldn't handle. My old computer. The Mac couldn't handle it. Too much CPU to do a broadcast. So it seems to. I haven't watched the Zoogle one yet. Too much CPU for the broadcast. So it's working much better here with this computer. This is a Windows computer. Anyway, tomorrow, I will switch it around, and now that you understand how facial recognition works, not that kind of lag. I mean lag with my mouth, kung fu lag. Your butt is too much for Periscope? Well, apparently they don't like me either on Periscope. So, look, I get 313 viewers on Periscope. Like, I used to get 14,000. I'm really happy that I'm on YouTube. I'm getting more visibility on YouTube, which is great. Yeah, from 14,000. Look tonight. 314 on Periscope. I mean, my average was, even in recent times, my average was 2,000. Ever since they added the call-in, yeah, my number dropped since call-in started. Because if you look at the global list, if you're not in call-ins, you're not on the global list. So nobody cares about what I talk about because it's not a call-in. So let them do the call-in and have that be exciting for a while, and then we'll see what happens after that. Okay. So anyway, not worried about that. I'm thank you for supporting me on YouTube. I think by tonight I may be I'm hoping by tonight I'll be at 3.8K hours. Okay. Hello, Suyog92. How are you doing? So I'm hoping I'll be at 3.8k hours as of tonight, and then possibly be days away from 4k.